What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the other side of the Firewall podcast, where we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who have made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and today, as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes
What's up? What's up?
and Levon Maynard.
What
All right, so we have a really good episode for you today. This one's more conversational, so no articles to necessarily quote, but I give it to Levon.
Sure thing. Yeah. So it looks like we're just gonna bring up a pretty popular topic, I suppose, within the IT industry, and that's basically the need or necessity to have a clearance or not clearance, but a degree when you're pursuing an IT job or an IT field. And I think back about uh, my journey in my career, and I started out. I did go to school when I started, and I went for a associate's degree, and at the same time I got a bunch of certifications, um, both like Microsoft, and even got some Cisco certifications and the CompTIA ones. But you know, I think it's all situational. To me, it's like depending on your situation. As if you've been in a obviously IT job, if maybe your parents or your folks or a good friend of yours like brings you into a team, you work in like a computer center or something like that, or some other like I don't know, some help desk, um, and you get a chance to kind of work on a regular basis, get experience with the networks and the components and all this kind of stuff, and you think you're ready for the job. You can interview for a job and say, hey, look, I don't have any credentials, I don't have certifications, I don't have a degree, but I have all this experience from me working at this job here, and I can maybe kind of show you some of the work I've done and some of the success that I've had in my career or my job here at the site. Um, I think people are doing that. Um, I feel like it's good to have a base, at least um, kind of. It, it's kind of nice to show that you have the work ethic or the drive to like better yourself and gain knowledge. Some things you learn. I think you learn a lot more on the job, but at the same time, there's some book knowledge that you could that I think is essential as well to understand. Some of the nuances that you don't pick up on the job. It's how things work in the background, how like components intertwine, how the components kind of interact with each other, especially like with Active Directory and some other popular services out there. But for me, I started out, got my associates. Um, I remember at the time when I was first growing up, one of my mom's friends was telling me that he recommended that um, I just go to 2 years school and get a degree, and just go to 2 year school, get a degree, get some certifications, and go to the job market. Originally, I was planning on going like 4 years and like get my bachelor's, and then then kind of look for the job. But um, IT is like something that's ever changing, so there's always something new coming out. It's always like some new technology. Even the books and some of the school work you to do nowadays, they may not even be up to date on some of the new things that are late, just breaking out nowadays. So you're going to get so much from in the book education, but at the same time, I think it's a good foundation. You get some of the base knowledge that you need to understand some of the components. But um, if I had to give like a solid answer, I'd say that I'd say it's dependent on your situation, and if people have like their connections that they can use to get a job in the IT field, and then they figure, oh, I'll just work this job for a couple years. I know people that have done that, worked a job a couple years without a degree, and just moved right into like another like higher level position. Start kind of moving up the ladder as they get more and more competent in their IT skills, as opposed to going for like a multi-year degree. But what you guys think about that? How's your life experiences?
Go ahead, Ryan.
I would say so. I'm one of those people who I have a lot of practical experience when it comes to like network infrastructure, cybersecurity, things of that nature. However, I pushed for the degree, not for the positions I'm currently in, because they didn't require degrees. But when I look at advertisements for positions I want to go into, they ask for the moon. There's a lot of credential creep happening. It's happening very quickly. I read something. There's like 36 percent of all IT or cybersecurity positions are asking for at least a 4-year degree. Then there's like another 35 or 30 that's asking for even higher, like your masters or above, or you need a CISP and a CCIE, and I mean, I'm looking for all these unicorns, but there's still another 30% or so. Like, so it's basically a third that don't require degrees. Like, so there's still some room, but it just seems like it's all because it used to be like maybe 60-40 or 80-20 at 1%, but they're all asking for the moon. And I don't think that's necessary. I think practical experience completely outweighs book smarts. I can see for some management type positions, um, it can be perceived that having a degree helps you hone leadership skills, but it's still not practical. You still have to be you still have to be in those teams and lead those teams. So I did it not only because I want the knowledge and as well as somebody else is paying for my degree. I didn't pay for any of my education, but also I'm uh, afraid of not be able to get through HR without it. So there's that aspect as well. Like the credential creep is real, and it's just getting more and more just crazy. Like next thing you know, they're going to doctorate. Like you need to have a doctorate
Mhm.
in cybersecurity before you can touch the network. People like, you're not going to find the people. It's just not going to happen. But what about you, Shannon?
So I want to preface this because I don't want this to sound like I'm coming down on anybody that has a degree, like my two co-hosts here, right? Good on them, right? But for me,
He's a degree
it is,
hater.
no, I'm not a degree hater. I'm
Fair
not a
warning.
degree hater.
I was
Look,
just,
look,
I was just
Fair
playing.
warning.
I'm not a degree hater, and full disclosure, I do not have a degree, right? But it has been my experience, and I know this isn't the case with you guys. It's been my experience, and I'll give it to you from the military perspective, right? That I have seen a lot of people that have made that the priority over actually doing the practical experience, right? I used to call them professional students when I was in the military, right? It's those people that whenever we have to go long in the day or do something like that, somebody else has to pick up the slack because they got to go to class, right? Oh, I gotta make class, whatever. And I'm like, why is their supervisor letting them do this, right? Like we have work to put in to make sure stuff is getting done. This is where you're going to learn, right? This is what, put your fingers on the keyboard and do what you need to do. Now for management it's a little bit different, right? But I will tell you, Ryan, the last two jobs I had, they wanted a degree. I did not have a degree, right? But I still got hired on. So yes, you'll see it in advertisements, but I think that's one of those things where it's I don't want to say an old regime, but it's one of those things that okay, we got to put this in here just because it's something that we've always asked for, right?
Okay,
The
gotcha.
practical experience, and again, my experience is limited, right? Only been retired for 2 years, right? Levon could probably answer better than I can, right? Because he's been out there in the civilian workforce longer than I have. You know what I mean? But it's just one of those things. It's an old relic, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, right? When it comes to IT, now I'm not saying that should be the case for anything, but when it comes to IT, like why should somebody have their masters? And I've seen this, and it was weird to me. Why should someone have their masters and make $12 an hour, right? Now I'm not going to sit here and bash and say $12 an hour is not. I mean, it's a job, and at this these COVID times, like that's good money to have for people that have nothing, right? But to get a master's, to put in let's call it 6 years of schooling, right? 7 years of schooling, depending on if you go full time or not, and then only make $12 an hour, like that seems a bit much, right? Like, why are you asking for the moon, like you say, and then paying me so little? And I don't want to make it seem like okay, there's got to be some job satisfaction there as well, right? It shouldn't be all about the money, but for the service that you are providing, like you are worth more than $12 an hour, right? So it's one of those things where I don't believe degrees are really necessary. And me, if I was um, if I was running a company, if I had a consulting company or anything like that, when I'm looking at resumes, to me, I don't want to say the college education is not important, but if I see a 22-year-old that has a degree, right, in cybersecurity, IT management, whatever it may be. But I see somebody that's got 6 years experience, actually putting their hands on a keyboard. I'm going with that experience, right? That's what I want. Somebody just going to school may not necessarily teach you how to troubleshoot, and that's what you need to know, right? Everything does not work exactly as it is laid out to be, right? How many times do we go to here's a good shout out for them? How many times do we go to Google to try to troubleshoot something, right? Like what do we, you know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. I
if something
still
comes
do.
up, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. I need somebody that's able to think like that, may have seen an experience or something like that. In school, it's a classroom environment where this lab is going to work as expected, and this is what's going to happen, right? Put something in this OU, it will do this, it will allow for this, it will allow for these GPOs. You know what I mean? Like that's everything in an environment that is supposed to work out the way it is, but I need you to be a critical thinker and go outside of that. That experience will do that. You know what I'm saying? That's more of what I need. And again, I'm not an education hater. I'm not a degree hater or anything like that, right? I hear it from my parents all the time. You know what I mean? So and so, I mean, it's not. I don't think it is as important, but it is an old relic that still shows up. You know what I mean? Even so, like I'll even to get your CISP, right? Like, which is one of those things that if people have CISP, like people would love to see that on a resume. You still got to get 5 years. You still got to have 5 years experience behind that, right?
Right.
If I only do 4 years of school, okay, even if you have, like I want to say Western Governors offers, or they used to offer the CISP, right? You could take it right there in your coursework and go and take the test. But until I have 5 years experience, it gets down, not downgraded, but it's not the CISP. They give you the other they give you the other one until you meet those qualifications. I can't remember what it is though. It's a
It's
different.
not Kaplan, is it? No,
No,
that's PMP.
it's like
Um,
it's not CISP. It's just something or other, right? But you can't get the CISP because you haven't met the requirement of
right.
5 years experience in at least two of the domains, right? You don't have it. You're a 22-year-old student. You just graduated with a degree. You know what I'm saying? So for me, again, in IT, right? I'm not saying there's not jobs out there that it wouldn't be useful for, but not for IT. It is not as useful today as I think it should be.
So I was thinking about that as you were talking and describing your experiences. I was thinking to myself as well. And I definitely don't want to like come off at the wrong on the wrong way or come out the wrong way. But
He's a degree lover.
no, I was thinking
Boo
about
that
your
man.
experience.
Boo
So,
him.
all right, because I think you just mentioned you've been in the military. I think that's where you got most of your IT experience. I would say maybe. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering like if you didn't go in the military, do you think how do you think you would have got your skills up to be able to go into the IT workforce? Or do you think you just would have like applied for a job out there? Like, because I'm thinking like military, maybe the military is kind of like going to school a little bit. It's like it's like, maybe it's like, it's a job, obviously, but it's also at the same time, it's kind of like you're learning and they educate you on how to do the job while you're
I hear you, right?
doing it.
But
Yeah.
but me being in the military is not universally recognized as a
Like
university,
a
right? It's
degree.
credit
Yeah.
accredited university,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's not recognized the same way. I mean, you'll have some companies that may go after veterans, right? Because they get tax breaks or whatever it may be, right? But it was an education for me. Now, if I would not have gone into the military, I definitely would not be here right now. I probably would have still been back home doing some stuff I shouldn't be doing. Right?
Been
I think
running
I
the
think
mean
I think I
streets.
think, I think the statute of limitations is expired. I can put that out
We
there.
want to hear all the details. What you
No,
doing
no,
when you were
no, no,
younger?
no, no. Statute of limitations is expired, so I think I'll be fine. But no, no, I'm joking. But no, the military it was a way for me to get out of where I was. And I did not
Sure.
start out in IT. I was a jet engine mechanic when I started out, right? But for me, I probably would have stuck with that. I know we might be getting a little bit away from what we talk about here, but I probably would have stuck with that if it wasn't for 9/11, right? Because after 9/11 happened, people were scared to fly, right? So when it came time for me to reenlist, I was like, I don't know if there's really going to be a future in being a jet engine mechanic, because who's going to hire me on when you got less flights that are out there? People are scared to fly. The ticket prices were going down to try to entice people to come on. So I was like, a job may not be there. So when I was for almost 5 years into my career, I was a 6-year enlistee for my first enlistment. When I was about 5 years into my career, I started looking at, okay, what is something that's very beneficial? You know what I mean? So we're talking 2004 time frame. I'm like, computers, you know what I mean? Like that's one I can get into that's kind of profitable. I had programmer on there, um, the computer operations on there. I think I had like weather, and it was like one more. You get to pick five. I only had like four. And
Right.
the other one was IT related. So yes, it was a good education for me. And I'm not saying the military didn't help me do that, but again, the military is not a fully accredited higher education,
Oh yeah.
whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Right.
So
Institution of some sort. Yeah.
yeah, right, exactly.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it was just a random thought because I was just thinking like, because my first IT job was pretty much at a help desk, which I think most people can qualify for, just knowing like the bare minimum basics, and they have like on the job training and stuff like that.
Me too.
And
That's where they stuck
yeah,
me when I got out of tech school. They were like,
yeah,
"Oh, you're
yeah,
gonna work the help desk because you need to build up your skills." Like I came in with
right,
none. You know what I mean?
right,
Yeah. So is that still happening though, for the most part? Because now I'm seeing ads where you need A plus, Sec plus, and 3 years experience to work help desk. I'm just like I'm not knocking help desk at all, but you're not going to get people out of people don't have that experience. It's like they keep ramping it up. They're like, yeah, we want 20 years experience before you touch uh client system. You like come on.
But
right,
if that's the case, where do you start, right? Where's the job
Right.
advertisement that says, "Okay, we'll take anybody without any experience," right? You don't
right.
see it.
Yeah, it's kind of like
You
you
don't
set
see
this
it.
bar, and it's like no job has the hire anybody. You got to be like an intern or
Yeah,
something somewhere. You got to find a internship or
exactly.
Right.
something,
Yeah.
which is like how do you
Yeah, so
find those?
hopefully it scales back down. Like I know right now it's the hot topic, so I think it's not as hard maybe to find an IT job just because they need so many people in it. But for a time there, like even I was looking like, man, they just need a crazy amount of experience. So I was like, I got that, and then I was looking, I was like, well, they also want you to have the experience, and they want you to have at least a four, and then it was like at least the masters. And now I'm seeing like everybody and their mom's asking for CISPs. It's like there's only so many of us in the entire world. So it's like, we need you to scale that back a little bit for this. Uh, uh, not mid tier. What's the intermediate
Mhm.
job? Like you have to come
Yeah,
down a little bit on your requirements because they don't jive. They don't make sense.
that's the
It's
truth.
very true. Very true.
So, but I think we hit it. I think we got all our points out in a timely manner. So shout out to
That's
my
right.
co-host. It was a good
Yes,
conversation.
yes. And anybody who has a degree, I hate you. No, I'm
Yeah,
just
that's right. That's what we learned. That's what we
Right.
learned today.
Shannon's a degree hater.
Shannon
Got
hates
it.
you. You got a
Yep.
degree.
Is it-
No, it's joking.
I'm really not. And again, I want to stress that I'm really not, right? Like even with my children. So I tell them, I was like, look, if you want to get an education, that's what I work for, to pay for it, right? You know what I
right.
mean? I did my time. I gotta save my nickels up for y'all. Now, when y'all are out of my house, I'm gonna start enjoying myself. You know what I'm saying? I ain't spending no more money on your education. I'll give you a
Right.
few
Right.
years,
Right.
I'll give you a few years after you graduate high school. But if you want to get like a few years past that, but hey, it's on you now. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I don't tell my children they don't get degrees, but it's not one of those things where I'm like, you are going to get a degree. You know what I mean? Like, come up with a plan to me that makes sense. If I'm going to be
Right.
paying.
Now it
Yeah.
makes sense. It makes sense. And then on top of it, it shows the diversity, right? Because both you and I, did or you did your 20. I'm coming close to my 20. So we show the difference there, and then Levon shows how he made it through, like you said, the help desk. And he's up, he's the man on campus. So,
That's right. That's right.
but-
I'm not gonna be like,
so
Half
not gonna
naked
be.
dudes on this
That's
page.
right. Half naked. No,
we,
hit me
we
up on
ain't, we ain't
Twitter for
go
the half
back there.
naked.
We ain't go back there. But shout out to my co-host. Shout out to the patrons. Make sure that you catch this episode now if you want to watch it on the Patreon, or if you want to watch it 7 days. I'm saying it backwards. If you want to see this 7 days completely ad free, then subscribe to the Patreon. If you don't and you catch this later, that's cool too. Like, share, subscribe, hit that bell, or continue to watch it or continue to listen to us on audio. I messed this whole thing up, but that's okay because we got another episode tomorrow for y'all to tune in where I get it right. So, with that being said, hit up the website, www.theothersideofthefirewall.com, where you get all our socials. You can reach me on several different platforms at RyRy Security Guys, RYRY Security Guy, on Twitter, LinkedIn, and TikTok. And Levon?
and regular ass Levon Maynard on the Twitters.
There we go. Where you see him in pictures of no shirt on.
That's right. There you go. Yeah.
Y'all be
Keep it
easy.
PG. Y'all be easy.